Welcome to Building Texas with Justin McKenzie and Summer Baburek. Sponsored by the Boerne Kendall County Economic Development Corporation and Das GreenHaus. And now, here's your host, Justin McKenzie.
Welcome to Building Texas. This is Justin McKenzie. You're listening to Boerne Radio 103.9 FM. And we're sitting here today with David Spencer. David's going to tell us all about his journey to Boerne and what he does to make an impact across the state. Summer is in the show as well, so we're excited to have her with us to have the conversation. Building Texas. We introduce you to builders, creators, and entrepreneurs serving Boerne and Kendall County and really the entire state, if not around the world, from right here locally in Boerne, Texas. So, David Spencer, please introduce yourself. How would people know you? Where would they recognize you from?
Great to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity. I tell you, I came to Boerne about a decade ago now. My brother, and he raised his family here, and we had the opportunity to move here over from the Smithson Valley area. It's only 30 miles, but it's like a whole new world over here. Super pleased to come over, really to start with our kids being next to their cousins. So I was an Army brat, moved all over, and the idea that you could grow up next to and be with your cousins and your family and be close was super appealing. And what a blessing to be able to come to this community.
Well, in this community, I know you've worn several hats on the community front, school board being a big passion of yours and continues to be a passion as we talk about the turkey dinner and other programs that you're involved in. But you're on your last high school student.
So my fourth is a senior at Boerne High School. He's in the band. And, you know, it's funny, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I was an athlete growing up. And so we have four boys, all who are fairly athletic, but all had a passion for music, which came from their mother. And I joke that God has a sense of humor because I used to make fun of band kids, and then I have four in a row. But band and really all of fine arts is just such a compelling opportunity for our kids, and we do it so well here in Boerne. That's the other thing that's amazing. But I think every kid should be part of something bigger than themselves. I think they should have a responsibility to a group or a team. And I think they should have a coach or a director who is not their parent holding them accountable. Those are life skills. And one of the things I love about our schools here in Boerne and can personally attest is, yes, academics are so strong, but character, life lessons, and really just Boerne values come through. And we're blessed. We're blessed.
I appreciate you saying all of that. We were with Dr. Price last week.
Great guy.
And heard his story about his kids going through the theater program and how that really got him to Boerne High School just because of the teachers. And so I always love to congratulate the staff that makes a big impact. And when the kids come home talking about that particular teacher, it's a huge compliment that I don't think the teachers hear often enough.
Well,
the staff here.
Our teachers are amazing. I'll tell you the other thing that just fascinates me about our schools is, you know, in a lot of communities, schools are separate from the community. There's something that's an afterthought. And we were just talking about our traditions here in Boerne, the 99-year tradition of playing football in Boerne. And this is the incredible one, the 72-year tradition of Boerne Turkey Dinner, supporting the band and the fine arts. And 72 years. In Boerne, you know, our schools aren't separate from the community. They are the community. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about this.
One of the topics we've shared over time was honoring the past, but really building a future of Boerne. And I'm going to use the example of the turkey dinner. In the past, that was 3,000 tickets.
So that, you know, pre-COVID, it's interesting because traditions fascinate me anyways. And there's a reason that people have traditions. Mm-hmm. And what I love about this community is our ability to honor our traditions like Boerne Turkey Dinner or like athletics. But we're not beholden to the past. We're growing into the future and making the best and blending the best of both worlds. And there's not a split there in this community. So leveraging those, and really it ties into entrepreneurship and what we're doing in our schools, all of which relates. I just walked past Dale Adams at the Boerne Bookshop, by the way. Great spot. If you guys haven't been over there, you should go check it out. Dale preceded me on the school board, and he started planting entrepreneurial seeds 8, 9, 10 years ago. That was one of the ways I got roped in. I'm like, we're doing entrepreneurship in Boerne, Texas? Like, I just moved here. That is super cool. Mm-hmm. And Dale wisely fished me into that effort, going back. And then Dr. Price gets here, and he really kind of turned it up to 11, to use my favorite Spinal Tap reference. Like, he's like, let's turn that up to 11 because it's so good for our kids and so good for building students for the future. Great example of where a tradition is laid in, and then we play it into the future and play it so well here.
You're listening to Boerne Radio 103.9 FM in Building, Texas. Summer and I are thrilled to have David Spencer here with us today and talking about the traditions of Boerne. And one of the things that struck me is our growth. In the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of people move into our community.
Like double.
And they've moved here because of great schools, great quality of life. It's a great location if you're working in San Antonio or Austin. How do we bring them into the community? How do we bring those new faces into an entrepreneurial journey that you're calling out as 10 years? I've heard Steve Mack says it's 2006 when it started.
No, sure.
But I think it's
Predates
40
me.
years.
I just had the visibility for 10 years, but it's been an ongoing. You know, it's interesting moving here. I always joke that I moved into Kathy Smith's house. She had 3 kids, and I had 4, but I sent one off to college. So I was carbon footprint neutral, like on population when we moved in. That was my standing joke. Like, but yeah, you move to a great place or you come from a great place, and it's great. And you worry that people coming in are going to wreck it. And so you want to build a fence. And that's just not the Boerne spirit. There's some folk that might think that way, but it has not been my experience, and I don't really think it's the right path forward. Our future is so bright here, and it's because of the people that are coming here. And it provides challenges, but we've got leadership and resiliency as a community to address those. And one of the things that's super important is building an economy here. Mm-hmm. And do we want to end up, we've got a great example. It's my favorite bad example, which is just go over to 46 and 281 and look at Bulverde. And they really, I'm not going to call out any names, but the leadership there were I call them the citizens against virtually everything, the cavers. And they were ascendant politically over there, and they decided we are going to keep everybody out and tell them to stay out. And look what happened. They didn't stay out. This is Texas. We don't have the laws to keep people out. So they ran over it. And now you've got an elementary school literally right next to a Walmart. And the traffic over there is unbelievably bad. Mm-hmm. And that is just such a near-term example of what we might do as a community if we just tried to keep everybody out and stay away as our strategy. I don't personally buy it. And also just from an economy, do we really want to look like Bulverde, which is strip centers and national chains?
Right.
Or do we want to have a Boerne that has an economy that's self-sufficient and that is based on the talent that we've got here and that is unique and cool, and we don't end up just being strip center central?
Well, our greatest export is our talent, and that really is what's coming out of Boerne ISD and other schools in the area, where there's great quality of life for a family life, and there's great school and education. What I hear from the Angel community and really from the Boerne community is we want our grandkids here. You mentioned it earlier, cousins growing up together. You can't do that without an economy and a way to bring people back to Boerne, the boomerang talent that we talk about, but then activating them into a community. And that's where the newcomers to our region that I've experienced have been great. They want to jump in. They want to roll up their sleeves. They want to be involved. If they're grandparents that don't have grandkids here, they're still engaged in the school district. So to me, that's what makes our community really unique, and what will give us the ability to look at the I-10 corridor and say, how can we use this corridor for the right growth, the right economic impact?
Well, and I think to David's point, it's our community is welcoming. Our strategy is not stay out. It's, hey, what are you great at? How does that fit into something that we're pretty good at and maybe you could add value to? And I think that is to answer your question earlier, a lot of what draws people in is, it's not just a cool place to live and then I just don't ever talk to my neighbors and I'm not ever involved in anything there because I work over here. No, it draws you in immediately because you've got people like David Spencer and you've got, our very focused economic development corporation who's saying, hey, we've got some really great talent moving in here. Let's figure out what they're good at. Are they starting businesses? Let's help them find places. And so it's that welcoming community and sense of a village, so to speak, that I think brings people into the community even further.
Well, we've got a couple of strengths. I'll tell you, one of the things that strikes me is our schools, super welcoming. Our churches. Mm-hmm. So you go to a church in Boerne, they're not going to say, who are you? Are you new? Go away. They're going to say, hey, we're here. Welcome. And that welcome spirit we see in our churches, our schools, and we've got an economic development activity that is focused around I get it. Some people are very concerned about it because they think, well, if we show a crack, that it'll be bad. But actually, that smart growth that's Boerne unique and that leverages our strengths, that's a style of growth that really points to a great future, not kind of my bugaboo, the strip center future. Yeah. And we've also just geographically got a huge advantage because we've got the I-10 corridor that's fine. That's on the other side of Boerne. There's a series of hills right there. And we've got the ability to do growth along the I-10 corridor that can be big box and help build our taxes. And then you just come right up over the hill on Main Street, whoop, and now you're in Boerne, Texas. And it's just palpably different. And it's not just, a suburb of San Antonio. It's not Corpus Christi. It's Boerne. It's unique, and it's us.
You're listening to Building Texas on Boerne Radio 103.9 FM. My name's Justin McKenzie, and after the break, I really want to dive into the work that David is doing in our community and then abroad. So stick with us, and we'll get back after the break.
Did you know we've been playing football in Boerne for 99 years continuously? And for 72 of those years, we've been supporting the fine arts in our public schools with Boerne Turkey Dinner. If you love tradition, if you love Boerne, and if you love turkey, November 12th, BoerneTurkeyDinner.com. Come support the fine arts in our community.
Welcome back to Building Texas. My name's Justin McKenzie, sitting here with Summer and David Spencer, and diving back into the conversation around Prytime and really the work that you've done here in Boerne, but your impact isn't here in Boerne. You famously will say there's no customers here for what you're doing, but I think
probably a good thing, by the way.
I agree. So help us understand, what is Prytime?
So we build a hemorrhage control catheter, and it's like, what is that? If there are 900, this is a little known fact about San Antonio, by the way, there are about 950 MDs, PhDs, and other researchers that get up every day and head down to Fort Sam Houston and work on stuff for wounded warriors. And they go off to war and they come back and say, we need a gadget to do this, or whatever this is. Mm-hmm. One of which was the problem we had of bleeding if our soldiers were bleeding internally. Truncal hemorrhage. And this was a big problem in the Iran-Iraq wars with the IED blast. We would armor our soldiers up, but the blast overpressure can hit you. Even if you're wearing body armor, it's just like getting hit in the chest with a baseball bat. It can break your spleen, your liver, your kidney, or you get in a car crash, you break your pelvis. And I did not know this till I got into the business, but you can bleed to death without a drop of blood going onto the ground. You can bleed internally to death. So that was an intractable problem. You think about it, you're bleeding internally, something already has gone wrong. Mm-hmm. It's a bad career choice. But now the only way to fix it is the doctors have to, open you up and reach in there and muck around and find it and tie it off, sew it. But you're already bleeding to death. Now they have to cut you, you're bleeding even more. So lots and lots of those cats didn't survive. And that was a problem that was identified by the military. And they brought that to Fort Sam. And I had been doing some work for the governor, doing economic development in our universities. And we heard there was $45 million in federal funds coming into San Antonio, Texas, and bouncing out of the state. And I'm like, that's my backyard. So my job, true story, was to go down there, knock on the door, and say, hey, why aren't you spending all that money in Texas for our economy? And the then commander, John Holcomb, was like, why aren't we spending it here? And the answer being we didn't really have the medical device and med tech infrastructure for economic development. And that's when I said, hey, I actually live here. I'd love to work on that. Long-winded way of saying, one of the things that they decided to do was they invented, everybody thinks I invented it, by the way, and I would love to claim credit. I actually didn't invent it. We're a bunch of engineers. We built it and perfected it. But the docs that went off to war said, why, instead of cutting somebody open to fix them, how about if we put a catheter, it's a plastic stick with a balloon on the end of it, and we'll put it into your leg and we'll thread it up into your aorta. It sounds horrible, but it actually works. And then we inflate the balloon inside your blood vessel. And it's just like sticking a golf ball in a garden hose. It just stops all the blood flow past the balloon. And if you put it up high enough in your descending thoracic aorta, then you can retain blood to your head, your heart, your lungs, and not have it be bleeding out through your spleen or your broken pelvis. And it helps save soldiers. And what we've started doing is bringing it to the commercial market for car crash victims or falls or the knife and gun club, trauma. And that's what we do here in Boerne. And why do we do it in Boerne? Well, because I live here. I mean, that's why we do it here, and I don't like to commute. But it's nifty because we have a reverse commute where we get talent out of San Antonio and the Hill Country, and they commute into Boerne and come here to work. And that's been a real blessing for us.
Not a bad commute either.
You know, it's interesting. The reverse commute was a little painful while 10 was getting worked on. We do have one pipeline in and out of Boerne towards San Antonio, and if there's a wreck or construction, it can be painful both ways. And then the ones I love, it's astonishing to me how much talent is out here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there is talent here, and you got to look for it, and it's not like they're 10 deep. But what a blessing we have for our people talent, which, by the way, if you build a place that is a great place to come and live, it has been my experience, you get an extraordinary shot at talented people because they want to come here because they can go anywhere. What a win. Like, I don't think a lot of people might not think about that, but what a huge advantage for us in Boerne that we can attract talented people because of our quality of life. Mm-hmm. Boom.
Well, and that's really the premise of the economic development work that we've done over the last 4 years is we know this talent's here, but we don't know the talent. We don't have a way to engage them in the community yet. So we're still trying to say, hey, how do we know you? And that's what, as we built out the Angel Network, I found tremendously talented people that came into our community, live here now, and want to get plugged in. With Das GreenHaus, we're seeing tremendous founders come out of everywhere.
It's a process, too. This is another thing that I love about your vision of traditions in Boerne and then how we're leveraging those to go forward into a new future. It's a process. It's not a destination. It's not like we're going to do one thing and boom, we're done.
Right.
This is a process of engagement and a process of positivity that Das GreenHaus, by the way, great example. Congratulations on it. Hey, if you have not been by there, it's just worth going to check it out. It's super cool. Nifty space, but more importantly, just a really nifty vibe down there. And then just looking at the community support for that effort, it's been super compelling.
Well, you're listening to Building Texas on Boerne Radio 103.9 FM this morning with David Spencer. And I think to the point, when I look at those, where are we trying to go, they're waypoints. We're on a sailboat and we're going in that general direction. What influences it is people like you and people that we find in our community that are investing back into the high school and the kids through Incubator EDU and other programs, or through the new workforce that's coming out here. And we're saying we've got great jobs. I'll be excited to share that Das GreenHaus is hiring. So we've got an opportunity to pull very talented people, potentially from San Antonio, out here into Boerne to make an impact and continue to grow their professional life.
I will our director of HR, I went to a event and Phyllis Browning had for her grand opening there on Main Street. And I went because she's a close friend of mine, and they're such great corporate citizens here in Boerne. They're amazing. And I went to the event, which was during family time, so it was a little rare for me. But I walked in and they're standing there by the door, and in comes a lady, and she says, "Oh, do you work here?" I said, "No, I just got here." And we start talking, and I'm like, "Well, what's your story?" She's like, "Well, I'm a mom, I'm an HR professional, and I've been wanting to come back into the workforce, but, it's Boerne, and there aren't, any HR jobs." And I said, I'm kind of need an HR director right now. She's like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "No, not offering you a job, but let's start talking." I ended up hiring her. She is amazing. She was right here. That talent is right here. So I think less about attracting talent here. They're coming. Mm-hmm. And I think about the job we or you guys are doing in enabling the existing network. And you never know who you're going to meet at one of our awesome, breweries here or at the 0.5K. The fun people, great people. You never know who you're going to meet. And the talent is here. And it's connecting, leveraging, enabling, encouraging that I think is the best part of what we can do.
Well, let's go back to Prytime because you've moved off of Main Street. You have a beautiful building here on Main Street, and that's going through some economic development as well. We've got a new business coming into that.
Super excited about them.
And you're staying here locally and expanding your footprint. But let's talk about impact and the device that you mentioned earlier and what Prytime is really serving into the military community. How's that being leveraged in places like Ukraine where there are current fighting, current need?
Well, super interesting. Thank you. The Main Street building has been a passion of mine because I drive by it every day and I live right around the corner. And then we outgrew it. And then we got an additional space, and then we outgrew that. We got a third space, and then we're like, maybe we should consolidate. There wasn't a lot of office space available here, and then we were real blessed to be able to move over and be neighbors, across the street neighbors from GreenHaus, by the way. So that's right over there by Starbucks, and super blessed to have that local impact because we've been blessed that we're growing our company now at about 55 employees and maybe 30 here in Boerne that come in. So that part is fascinating. And then our product, I jokingly say we don't have any customers here. That's a good thing. Now you know, because if you were listening earlier, you don't want one of our medical devices. Like something has gone dramatically wrong. You are bleeding internally. That's bad. So, but it's fascinating to me about the crossover from military to civilian. San Antonio's military city, USA. You look around Boerne, it's such a profound part of our economy here. Talent, military, ex-military. And as taxpayers, it's a bipartisan agreement helping wounded warriors. Generally, everybody supports that. Like, who wouldn't support helping someone who's put their life on the line and has been wounded? And then we have 35,000 deaths a year in the United States due to car crash. And we've driven that number down through car safety, but we just accept 35,000 deaths in the United States a year. What that means is today, if you do the math, 365 days in a year, 100 people will die in car crashes today. If there's a plane crash, 100 people, boy, it'd make the news. But we just accept as part of the math that, 100 people are going to die today, and it's just part of the thing.
Well, TxDOT has their big campaign on End the Streak, and it's a day without a death on Texas roads.
Amen.
And it's been a shockingly long time since that's happened. And how do we all work together to make it happen?
And more to the point, isn't it interesting that investments the military makes for combat wounded actually might, God forbid, have a direct impact on my family if we have a car crash or a drunk driver or a fall off of a ladder or, a series of bad events. And that's super compelling to me because the technology the DoD, Department of Defense, is investing in now has come home to save lives in the United States. And what a fascinating part about economic development and making life better economically, but also making life better when you're in the med device business about, wow, but we've got to meet some of the survivors. A lady that got hit by a truck. She's a pedestrian and got run over and crushed her leg and her pelvis, and that's a really bad career choice, and they saved her using our device. And I got to meet her, and she came down here and met our whole company at our annual meeting. Wow, that's like gives you chills kind of stuff. So we're super blessed that, and it's kind of surprising to folks that that's the kind of things happen in quiet little Boerne, Texas. You know, come to Boerne and have a global impact.
Well, I think you're telling that story. You're here for the community. You're here for the quality of life. You're here for your kids to grow up next to their cousins, which is a great privilege to really have that opportunity and have that way of life. We've talked a lot about the band, and we've talked a lot about Boerne ISD and the great work they're doing. And I just want to say thank you for the impact you're having, serving on school boards and being a local voice to how we put the idea of entrepreneurship, the idea of build it and they will come, into play.
Yeah, I know we're running short, but I got to put one plug in for the awesome entrepreneurship program in Boerne schools.
It's fantastic.
And Coach Brewer has just got a compelling program that started, as most programs do, with a great teacher who cared. And now you see that there's like there's a waiting list to get in. I want to just talk about Lacy Beck and her company.
Oh, she did a great job. She presented in August to the Angel Network and
Isn't that amazing? So she, a young lady here in town, and her parents moved here for the quality of life, by the way, and from Oregon, and great family, great people. And she went to Coach Brewer, and they got in the entrepreneur class and did a great company that then ended up not working. And this is such a key point with entrepreneurial development and the roots that we're putting in, because she then, that company didn't work. The kids took that money and said, let's use it for scholarships instead of trying to continue the company. But then she said, hey, I've got the bug. I'm going to do this other company that she then started and was around transcripts because she had moved here from Oregon, and the transcripts were hard to transfer. And she's like, wait a minute, we could automate this whole thing. Why are counselors having to do it by hand? And started that company, which is now presented to the Angel Network, raised some money. It's a real company. Like, it's really happening. She's got a patent. Like, they're really going. And did Boerne ISD get credit for that? Does Lacy Beck get credit for that? Or do we all get credit for that? Because that's the community we're building. I mean, it's super exciting to me.
We're excited, and SynchroAI is a great idea and concept that she's going to take to a reality.
And she's up at ACU.
Abilene Christian.
And she is running a company while she's in college, help with her parents, help from the community. And what do you think that's going to be for the future of Boerne, that little piece? Super exciting anyways. And why did that all happen? Tommy Price, Boerne ISD, Dale Adams, going all the way back 20, 25 years. Who would have known that the seed they planted is sprouting in a 19-year-old who is going to have a profound impact to this world? And she came from Boerne, and her family's here. She'll be back. That's huge, Justin. That's amazing.
It really is. And that's one of 10 stories that are top of mind on Boerne ISD graduates that are going out and making an impact and then coming home. And we have to be able to land them and give them a reason to come back here and to be successful, to grow, build a career here in Boerne, Texas. So thank you for the way that you're building Texas. Thank you for being with us today. And we'll continue to tell this story and celebrate the turkey dinner.
Love this town. Love this station. Love what you guys are doing. What a blessing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
This is Amy Story with the Boerne Kendall County Economic Development Corporation. Join us on Tuesday, October 24th for Kendall County's first Economic Summit at the Bevy Hotel for this half-day event to learn more about the businesses and opportunities here in Kendall County. This event is being brought to you by the San Antonio Business Journal and the Boerne Kendall County Economic Development Corporation. Sponsorships are still available, and individual tickets can be purchased through the San Antonio Business Journal or online at the BKC EDC website. That's www.bkcedc.com. You don't want to miss this opportunity to hear from local business leaders as well as representatives from the City of Boerne and Kendall County. Panel discussions include infrastructure planning, and hear from the people and entities involved in the creation of our entrepreneurial ecosystem. Get your tickets before the event sells out. After the Economic Summit, Das GreenHaus, Boerne's first business incubator, will host an open house. So come out and see the community's place to support and grow entrepreneurs, innovators, founders, and startups right here in Kendall County. That's www.bkcedc.com.
Boerne Radio 103.9 FM. Now let's head over to the Patrick Heath Public Library with Miss Constance for Children's Story Time. As the Patrick Heath Library is